This corn on corn. This is a field also that I turned over with the moldboard plow here, I don't know, a month or so ago, whenever it was. But anyhow, I got this, came over here with the disc on Tuesday. I think it was Tuesday. No, it's a Monday or Tuesday. Today's Friday the 25th. I can't remember if it was Monday or Tuesday. It must have been Monday because it rained Monday night late, and then it rained again Tuesday afternoon. And then I came over here Wednesday and hit it with the disc. And then last night I come over with the Cultimulture and give it a good fitting. And then I'm over here tonight planting. This is the third field I've planted on my own. I got all my friends' corn planted last Saturday. Well, we worked at it Saturday till we got rained out, and there was about 2 acres left, and he finished it up Sunday morning, and then Sunday afternoon I started mine. I planted a 5-acre field, and then just a acre and a half field. I'm checking to make sure I'm dropping since I don't have a monitor. What I do is I lift up while I'm moving at the end of the rows, the end of the field, and I can look on the, when I turn around and see if I'm dropping still. So that way, if I do that every round or every half round, if I have a problem somewhere, I can isolate it a little better. You lose a little seed, but it's not enough to worry about. Basically, I just like to look back every so often and make sure everything's spinning and no fertilizer spilling out of the sides of the boxes. Because if it's doing that, that means the tube's plugged. It's actually been a pretty eventful spring. Most springs go pretty well without too many troubles. Occasional hiccup here and there, but this spring, for whatever's been kind of a pain. A lot of breakdowns, just little stuff. And I've had 2 issues with the planter so far. Last weekend, or late in the week, my friend was planting, and he called me one morning and said there was a puddle of oil underneath the frame of the planter. I can't remember if it was in the middle or on the end. It was probably on the ends. One of the ends was leaking. One, two, three, four, five, six. And here we come to find out that there was a leak in a line that runs the marker arms. And I should have made a video on repairing that, because that could probably benefit somebody someday if they ever run into that problem. There's actually, I'll have to do a separate video on it sometime. I'm not gonna hop off and talk. I want to get this planted tonight. But long story short, there's a steel line that runs through the frame. There's a hose that goes from the cylinder to the frame, and then there's a steel line that runs from the frame out to the end of the frame, into the planter on the one side. And there's an actuator in there that it runs to, that when you raise and lower the planter, it flips your arms, the lever on your arms, so it lets every other, the opposite one down each time. Well, I'm really digging in there. So anyhow, we found out the steel line had a hole in it. So I called Deere, and lo and behold, they actually had that line on hand. So we went over and picked it up, and we spent 3.5 hours working on that. And in hindsight, we should have just, he had the hose disabled to that part, and was just planting without marker arms, in which you can do that, but it's a real pain because it's hard to see where you're planting. I mean, until you get a feel of it and see where you're going. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Until you see where you're going, how everything's working. He's got rows together and probably far apart. And he planted, I believe, 19 acres that way. But at least he got done, before the rains. Because we had a couple days last week that it was ideal to plant. And of course, when Saturday rolls around and we can hit it hot and heavy, the rain came in the early afternoon there and shut us down. But anyhow, we had to get that steel line out and replace that, and it's kind of a process. Like I said, I should have made a video on it. It would have been easier doing that than explaining, but there's an actuator in there, and what you do is you have to take your marker arms, there's shear bolts in them, and they open up like a book, and then you take your cables loose. There's cables in there to let those arms up and down. You take those cables loose and them arms come down, you can swing them out of the way, and 2 cap screws hold all that jazz in there, and then you can slide that out, and there's about a 3-foot hose that goes from the actuator to that steel line, and it's long enough that you can let everything out of there and get to it, see back through there. And like I say, it's kind of a pain. It was a process, but we got it. Getting the old one out's easy, getting the new one in's kind of tricky, because I mean, even though it's rigid, it wasn't exactly bent the way it needed to be. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It wasn't exactly bent perfect, so it was putting it in and pulling it out about 3 times to tweak stuff, and I ended up having to stick a board in there, a 2x2. It's about 8 foot long or so, 8, 9, I don't know, 8, 9 foot long. It was just long enough to get in there, and I could move that hose or that line around. But anyhow, and then I have Yetter fertilizer openers on this planter. It came the way that way when I bought it. I had a bearing go out of one of those, and that was when I was planting my 6.5 acres, whatever it was. When I was about done, I noticed that one of the discs was flopping, and I looked and saw a bearing was out. So I only had a couple of rounds left after I noticed. So I went ahead and finished, and then I believe it was Monday, I got off work in time to tear it apart and go up to IH, is the Yetter dealer around here, and they had bearings on hand. It's an inner and an outer, but they're the same size, so it makes it kind of nice. So I got bearings and the races and the inner dust cap that's on the back side of that, and fixed that Monday. And of course, it's been till Friday here since I've been able to run. But other than that, knock on wood, things are going okay so far. We had some other issues with other equipment. 4, 5, 6. Just minor stuff. Nothing to shut us down too long. My friend's Cauda mulcher had a breakdown, and I just drug mine over there so he could keep moving. And mine's actually 2 foot wider, so whoops, sorry about that. So it made it go a little quicker for what he had to do yet, and then he's got that back together now. So for beans, he can work with his. And then we were actually planting with his 285 to start. I got 7 acres in. It would have been 2 weeks ago tomorrow, so when we started corn. And I got 7 acres in, and I started on the next little field, and was going along a tree line, and I caught a branch with the muffler, and it snapped the manifold. It had been broken before and welded. So it didn't take much, and I popped that off. So instead of running that thing without a manifold and choking on fumes, I ran home and got this tractor and put on it. I like running this planter with this tractor anyhow. It's probably a little overpowered, but it's nice having that extra 20 horse. That 285 is like 85 horse. Anyhow, this is the same planter I've had for the last several years, and I'm planting the same population as last year, 32,000. I'm planting the same kind of seed, Seed Consultants. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Planting Seed Consultant seed again. Only difference from last year was conventional seed. This year is a triple stack on 4 rows and Roundup Ready for 2 rows. That's my refuge. It's technically, if you plant triple stack corn, you're supposed to plant a refuge with it. I don't know if any of you other guys that plant stack do that or not, but even though I only plant a few acres, I do that, and I'm not sure. Let's see, I gotta think what boxes I have it in. The way I did it, yeah, I'm backwards in this field. I needed to start in the corner behind me on the south or the north end of the field to make it work, but I try and do it to where I've got my 4 stacks and my 2 Roundup, and then when I make my flip and come back, I got my 2 Roundups beside the 2 Roundups, and then the 4. That way I'm 4, 4, 4. But in this field, I think I'm running 2, 4, 2, 4 the whole way across, but I really don't give a rat's ass. It doesn't really matter. It's kind of cool if you do it right, and you can see your comparison in the field, but I don't really care about comparing this field. This field actually did extremely well last year. I'd be shocked if it comes anywhere close to what it did last year. This was planted June 1st last year. Same population, same rate of seed, just the conventional, and it went 188 an acre. Like I say, planting back to back, usually you have a yield drag. Not always, but usually. Yeah, last year I planted half the field. I bumped the planter up 1 spot. I was putting, I don't know, probably 260 to 270 in the row, pounds an acre. And I thought I was going to run out, and I didn't want to have someone come bring me fertilizer, so I dropped it back to where it's at now, and where I'm planting now, which is roughly somewhere between 220 and 240. I'm not exactly sure. Probably in the 230 range. Yeah, probably somewhere in there. And I'm just going to plant the whole field at that rate. I probably should have bumped it up and ran that, but at 6 acres in this planter, I can't hardly. I'd have to bring bags over and drop off before I planted. It's just easier to just keep running. I don't have many acres, but I'm limited on time being by myself. They're actually calling for rain tomorrow evening. Hopefully it doesn't. I've got this 6 acres and another 23 that I'd like to get in tomorrow before it rains. And 19 of